right, so Betterment is one of, the larger robo-advisors now. What do you see kind of changing in the wealth management space in the future?
Yeah, so we're the largest and fastest growing robo-advisor in the world as we measure it. We have more customers than all the other robos combined by a factor of 2. We see this entire financial services sector being changed by the introduction of more advice. If we take a long view over what's happened over the last several decades, people have taken more of their financial life into their own hands because they had to. We have to save for retirement. We have to manage our money. And we believe that technology in general is helping us to automate that work so that we don't have to do it anymore, which is ultimately what I think most people want.
Right. So what's to stop some of the big incumbents like JP Morgan, Citi, although I don't see JP Morgan mentioned on the board downstairs with companies innovating much, but Jamie Dimon says they could offer a robo-advisor for free if they wanted.
Yeah, he says we're just going to do it. And he's right. They will. They're going to have to. We've talked with those guys. We've talked with all of these people. Every bank, has been in the office, or we've been to their office, or this or that. They're all doing it, and that's inevitable. We said when we launched, 6 years ago, we just had our 6-year anniversary of our launch. We said, ultimately, if we're successful, there's going to be a lot of competition in this space. And it is increasingly crowded. There's more and more companies doing it. But every time one of these large incumbents launches a product, we grow faster. I think because they're educating the market about the services that people should be getting. And so people kind of do a search and look around, and that helps us grow faster. And we see that continuing, a little bit like when people started getting into, say, shopping online. It didn't hurt Amazon that Target also has an online store. They're still just better at it. We're a digitally native, really technology-forward organization, and we're building the future of financial services.
Okay, so how do you make sure that anyone that wants to get into the robo-advisor space, in terms of a customer that wants to, where should I put my money? How do you tell them that Betterment is the place that they need to put their money?
I think there's nothing better you could do with your money today than put it in a Betterment account. We're going to manage it better than anybody else will. We're going to tax manage it better. We're going to behaviorally manage it better. Net of all your costs, we're going to do a better job than anything else you could do.
Okay. Shifting gears a little bit, a lot of people talk about high acquisition cost for the robo-advisors. How do you lower that cost? Because it can't be low for someone. I don't go talk to my friends like, I have a really good robo-advisor, you should look into them.
Right. If the acquisition costs were as high as some of these reports say, well, we wouldn't have any money left. And
so you're saying the reports are too high?
Yeah, they're an order of magnitude too high. And I guess that's just because that's what it costs maybe incumbents to acquire customers. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't cost us that much.
Why do you think that is?
Because we have reduced friction and made the whole process of investing easy and delightful. We have the best advice, so we remove some of the inertia and kind of fear that grips most people. And that makes it just easier to sign up, so more people do. And when we increase conversion rates, we reduce our acquisition cost.
Okay, and then what are some of the best forms of marketing that you guys have used?
Gosh, we've done a lot of things. We've done cab tops here in the city, and TV, and of course all the digital channels. But the number one channel for us still to this day is referrals. Every year, consistently, 30 to 40% of our customers come through word of mouth or our referral program. And most of our customers, the majority of our customers, even if they saw us on a cab top or on TV, at some point in their customer journey, they talk to an existing Betterment customer. And that's why we're growing. It's because those customers are satisfied and they're talking to other people about it and they're saying, this is the best thing I've seen, you got to sign up.
Okay, so I'm a minority and not talking about where I'm putting my money. All right. So you guys recently launched Betterment for Business, the 401k program. That space is traditionally really messy. It has a very long sales cycle. Why get into that?
Oh, I love that. And you're right. It's totally a messy space. How many people here have a 401k? Show of hands if you have a 401k. Keep your hand up if you love your 401k. How many love their? You do. You have a Betterment 401k. That's. when we like nobody loves their 401k. Like it's a terrible, it's an industry that has just seen no innovation in the last 30 years since these things were introduced. It's just kind of crazy when you look at this stuff. Like there's only maybe less than a dozen record keepers out there, and the number keeps shrinking and shrinking because nobody is entering the business and nobody wants to do the business because it's just a gross, awful, high cost, low margin business. I love that, right? Like when I see people, when I first approached the investment management space in 2008, 2009, when I was talking to people about, hey, maybe I want to start this company, Betterment, they said, don't do that. That's a terrible industry. It's like super complicated. Just stay away. I think those kinds of things, when everyone is saying, look the other direction and go away, those present really exciting opportunities. And we heard the same thing about 401ks. Everyone said, oh, I don't know, like not sure about that. But if you look back at the tapes, when we launched in 2010, we were asked on stage at TechCrunch Disrupt here. Somebody said, I think this would be really good as a 401k product. And we said, it's on the roadmap. The only thing we got wrong is I think we said, yeah, maybe next year we'll do that. It took us like 6 years to get there. But it was a little more complicated than we thought. But we've been working on it for a long time.
Okay, so the sales cycle is how do you convince a company to move from something like a Fidelity where if something goes wrong, you can say, oh, all of these companies have Fidelity. We're just investing where everyone else was. We thought it was good for our employees. How do you tell them to do a startup instead?
Right. No one ever got fired for buying IBM, right? So the same thing is true in financial services. It's very slow moving. It's very slow to change. Products take forever to be adopted. The curve on here that you saw for ETFs that was growing faster than mutual funds, well, just remember that was index mutual funds, and the original mutual funds took 50 or 60 years to get off the ground before anybody was using them. So innovation is happening faster and faster, and that's exciting. And I think I think our demonstration on the retail side is showing that. So far in 401k, we have more business than we can handle. Literally, just more people want to sign up than we can onboard all at once. And I think we're not going to have any problem selling it based on the early numbers we're seeing. It's just a much better product. It's a better experience. Nobody to date ever has offered advice by default for every participant in a 401k plan that's free. We're doing that. It's something everyone should have. Everyone should have this, and no other service offers it. So it makes it easy to sell.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you said the 401k business was messy, and that's the reason you wanted to get into it.
One of the reasons, yeah.
Okay, so what are some of the other areas in financial services that you see that are really messy that Betterment could get into?
There are a lot of us hovering around, I think, the same idea. And I think what we all want, at least what I want, is this future where I don't have to think about my money. I got into finance kind of by accident. I loved economics. I loved psychology. I loved the macro view, and I loved thinking about human behavior and behavioral economics, things like this. In my own, and I was consulting to banks, but in my own personal life, I had 7 different brokerage accounts, and I found that none of them did exactly what I wanted to do, which was just do this thing for me. And I kept trying different strategies to see if I could find something I could, set and forget and not have to worry about. Ultimately, I don't want to have to manage my paycheck and think about how much should be in my checking account versus my savings account. Why doesn't my bank do that for me? Right? I don't want to have to think about how much to put in my IRA or my 401k. Why doesn't my financial institution do that for me? We are like the self-driving car of financial services, right? We're going to get you there. You tell us where you want to go. We're going to get you there safer, faster, better than you can do it yourself. And I think that's what people ultimately are going to embrace. We shouldn't be managing our own money. It's a little like the dark ages when maybe you had a broken leg and you had to splint it yourself, or maybe somebody in your family or your village could do it for you. There were no doctors. That's a little bit like what our financial services industry is like today for most people. There's not enough advice to go around. You have to have a lot of money to afford the little bit of advice that there is. We're making great advice accessible to everyone, and that's what ultimately the future of financial services is going to revolve around.
Okay, so a lot of the things that you want to do require data coming in from the customers, and you guys have been very, much involved of, the incumbents don't want that data to be able to go to you guys. How do you stop that, and, what are you doing to advocate against it?
I have to give credit to the incumbents for having I think so far, a fairly balanced approach on this data privacy issue. On the one hand, let me first state our position. We believe it's your data, your financial data belongs to you, just like your health records belong to you, and you should be able to use that data in a secure way as you see fit and take it where you want. The other side of that, which is that maybe you don't have access to your data, would be the bank just keeps all your transaction history or keeps your records, or the brokerage keeps your cost basis private. If they do that kind of thing, then it makes it very hard to compare services, and it makes it nearly impossible to switch providers. And that would be a bad state of the world. It would be like locking you into seeing one doctor for your entire life, no matter what kind of service you got. We would never let that happen. And we shouldn't do that in financial services. Now, the banks have a tricky road to play because they don't really want to share that data because they want to keep their customers, and they don't want them to compare prices, and they don't want them to leave. And they have security concerns. So I understand their point of view, but I think they're being pretty fair about it. Some of them are exposing APIs. I think Wells Fargo just talked about doing this. As long as those APIs are robust and provide really your full financial data to the companies that you want to give access to it, I think that's a pretty good approach.
Okay, how do you position Betterment for any scenario if that all of a sudden stops coming in? Is that going to increase costs for you guys in terms of having the customers fill out more forms?
Yeah, look, I mean, we want to reduce friction in every way, just like, everybody wants to have, buy with one click or not have to worry about this stuff. Every click makes life worse. So we're looking to really optimize every experience. And the more we can do for you, the better off we think our customers are. It's when people take this stuff into their own hands or feel they have to take it into their own hands that they get paralyzed, they get scared, they make bad decisions due to emotional reasons, this and that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one of the things that was mentioned on Anand's slide was the partnership you guys did with Fidelity. Mm-hmm. Do you regret partnering with them back in, 2014, I think?
Yeah, I should point out first that was a partnership with our institutional business. So Betterment Institutional serves investment advisors. We have over 300 advisory firms on that platform now, and it's a way for those advisors to better serve their clients. Imagine you could scale your advisory practice from 50 clients to 500 clients just by adopting better technology. That's what Betterment Institutional does. And we partnered with Fidelity to learn from each other, and it was a one-year agreement. We reached the end of that agreement a year later, and I feel like we learned we learned a lot about practice management. They learned about robo-advisors. I think we both kind of got what we wanted out of that partnership, and we remain really close with them. Okay,
are there any other firms that you would think about partnering with?
Like I said, we've talked with just about everyone out there, and I think there's a lot of interest. I think, look, all of these firms understand that this is a big deal. And I'm excited that so many firms are getting into the robo-advisory space, right? If it were like ETFs, how many firms got into ETFs? Well, Fidelity only just got into ETFs, right? It took them a long time to get into that. Schwab relatively only recently got into it. It was really kind of Vanguard, BlackRock, a few other firms early on, because it seemed like kind of a marginal, mutual funds will still dominate most assets for a long time. The fact that everyone is getting into this robo-advisor space means it's a big deal, and they all see it coming. And they understand that ultimately the person who is your advisor becomes your central financial relationship. We want to be your central financial relationship. So we don't want to be the back end for another firm. We want to empower our employers, our advisors, and our retail customers with our technology and not have that branded in another way. So the firms that we're looking to partner with have services that are complementary to us. We would partner with folks who are, say, offering insurance or loans or other things that we might want to offer to our customers, banking products and so on.
Okay, so are those areas of scale for Betterment in the future?
Yes.
Okay, any time frames of when something like that might happen?
We're working on a lot of these things, and I don't have a timeline for you. All I'll say is that that vision of becoming your central relationship means that we have to do more than just manage your investments. We need to manage ultimately all of your money. And we started with a picture of all of it, so we now aggregate. And in my Betterment account, I used to use Mint.com to track everything. Now I use Betterment to track everything. I've got my credit card in there, my bank accounts, my investment accounts, and everything's in one place. And increasingly, we're building advice around all of that. And you can kind of see how we continue to do that and take over more and more of your financial life, ultimately so that you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Okay, is that part of the plan to IPO in the future, get that scale and get to profitability?
A lot of companies IPO before they're profitable, and it just has to do with scale, and that is ultimately the path that we want to take. There's lots of things that we're doing to get to scale. I think our core business could get us there. I think the more we build, the more we accelerate that path.
Okay. I guess the last question that I'll ask before we open it up is, you have a lot of customers, you want to make sure they stay loyal. We haven't really had a bear market since you guys have been around. How do you make sure that they don't go and want an actual human to deal with when that happens?
Yeah. So we get this question a lot about what happens when shit hits the fan and everyone wants to, talk to someone. And I saw some data. Maybe it was in the prep materials for this talk about, Vanguard's personal advisor services in January, when the market was down 15 to 20%, saw a 9% increase in call volumes. And I just thought that's so small. And we saw something similar, I think even less than that. We saw a very small increase in call volumes. So the market's down 15 or 20%. That's not the same as down 40 or 50%, but you would expect some correlation there, right? Mm-hmm. People just, it was okay. And I think there's maybe an idea, there's two different ways you could approach the idea of like what an advisor does in a downturn. First, let me say, good advisors are not there to tell you how to change your portfolio when the market drops, right? Good advisors are there to help you with setting your goals, life planning, tax management, the same kind of stuff that our advisors do or that our technology does for you. A bad advisor might call you up when the market is down and say, hey, I want to reposition things for you. And I think that's how advisors generate a lot of commissions, and so they think that phone call is important. Because it's important to them, not important to the client, and clients don't really call. They don't seem to be bothered by downturns, and in fact, we think based on our data that we grew share and grew faster in the downturn because people were leaving other services, and we expect that in a larger downturn as well.
Okay, we'll open it up to questions back there. Leave some time.
We have some questions from the audience. How can various digital wealth managers differentiate their services to avoid commoditization?
Great question. We think a lot about how the space could become crowded. People are doing their shopping. People are understanding the differences between these services when they sign up. And yet, I think we're probably still in the relatively early adopter phase. We're with people who really care and are taking the time to read the details and understand what's the best service out there. Over time, like it or not, people will rely more on brand and referrals, as I talked about, in sort of making these decisions about where to put their money, and therefore. We're going to have to grow a major national brand in order to ultimately be the most impactful financial services company of a generation that we want to be. That's going to take some investment. It's going to take some time, and we're excited about it.
How do you make sure someone like a Charles Schwab or a Vanguard doesn't beat you at that, since they have so many assets under management already?
They have a brand, and let's not forget, 40 years ago, Schwab was nothing, Vanguard was nothing. These are now the firms that we're talking about as the incumbents. Once a generation or so, things change, and this is that moment.
Okay. Next question.
Beyond the obvious young and mass market investors, can digital wealth managers appeal to very high net worth clients?
Can we appeal to high net worth clients? Yes. Do we today? Yes, but not enough. So our largest customer has, I don't know, maybe $10 million with us or so. We don't have many customers of that scale. And this isn't like someone that I know or I've never met. I've actually never even talked to this person. But you know, I should have, but but we have a few customers of that scale. I think increasingly our wealthy customers are parking more and more money with us as the platform becomes more and more sophisticated. One of the things that we've seen in our data over the last 2 years, as we strive to become our customers' central financial relationship and we segment our customers by, say, net worth, our lowest net worth customers, call it less than $100,000, already manage most of their money with us. 65% of their assets are at Betterment. For our highest net worth customers, say greater than $500,000, it's still a tiny fraction of their assets. It's maybe 20% of their assets are with us. But that's up from about 5% 2 years ago. And where we've been growing in share of wallet and where we've been growing in balances is all in these high net worth customers. So as the platform becomes more and more sophisticated, they're feeling more comfortable. And they've been customers all along. We have the same proportion of those customers. They're just getting comfortable moving over more assets from whatever else they were doing with it to Betterment. I hope that answers the question. I'm not sure exactly.
Do you feel like those customers are more proactive in reaching out and paying attention to where they're invested?
Are they more proactive in sort of talking to us and wanting to ask questions?
It's a smaller portion of their wealth, but it's still like that's a lot of money.
You know, one thing that most people, I think, don't know about us, and we probably should do a better job surfacing, is that since day one, you've always been able to call us. First of all, anyone can call our customer support 7 days a week, and we get really high marks for it. We were rated Consumer Reports #1 in the brokerage category for customer service in 2015. We were the only company to receive that honor that's been in business for less than 30 years. So we have a huge focus on customer service. We always have. It's always been central to our mission. And people think, oh, robo, like I can't talk to someone. Also, you can talk to an actual advisor. We have CFPs, we have CFAs, we have PhDs who will talk to you on the phone about your investment plan. And people, again, think, oh, it's a robo, like I can't get this kind of service there. It's just most people don't. And most people don't really need that. Until your needs get super complex, our technology does a pretty good job of managing your money for you.
Is there ever a day where you're going to have to hire a bigger team of those CFPs to be able to deal with these types of calls?
I hope so. I think we'll get there. And we're trying to introduce more of that for people who want it, just surfacing it more, making it more available. But so far, honestly, it's hard to get people who actually want that call. I think very much of the conversations that we do have with our customers, a large percentage are wanting to sort of understand that someone's there on the other end of the phone, kick the tires a little bit, see how smart we are, and it's more like a sales call, right? They're calling in to understand if this is a place that they're comfortable managing their money.
Okay, so if you did more of a proactive call, they probably were worried about something else instead of where they're invested?
Yeah, we don't proactively call our customers. We do not we do not just cold call them or this kind of thing. And I don't see that coming. I think we'll leave it as an option for them if they want us to call or if they want to call us.